Coach Steph here. Good to see you. Do all the things, like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. I want to know what you think, what you are processing through all of these fun things. So, does competition belong in relationships is what we're going to talk about today. You know, if you are playing cards, if you're in a sport, those are the places that competition thrives and is so fun. And of course, in competition, there's always winners and losers, right? Which, again, your fun personality can come out in that. And it really is a great thing in relationships to play games, to play sports, to do competitive things together. Even, you know, competitive like push-ups or something like that, just to challenge each other when you're trying to grow in strength or health, things like that. So those are really fun ways to have competition in relationship. I do want you to consider the first point we're going to kind of talk about is when our thought process starts going to who is smarter, stronger, prettier, makes more money, whose kids are better off, you know, making the most awards in school or has the best grades. You know, all of these places, there is no room for them in relationship. So that's point one. When it comes to competing, they're subjective to the person, to the situation. Somebody can be doing their absolute very best, and it still might not look like what another person's very best is. So it brings in that place of competition or comparison in a way that it just feels gross. It feels yucky. It doesn't feel safe to be around people that, just have to constantly bring that comparison. And I remember having a really good friend years ago that this was really important for her. And in this place in her life, it was important that she had the facade, everything on the outside put together, looking perfect, kids perfect, perfectly dressed. Always when they go out of the house, you know, the makeup is perfect, the hair is perfect, the clothes are perfect, they shop at the best places. Like all of these things were so important to her. And I loved her. I loved spending time with her. I loved who she was. But I also knew it wasn't a place I could talk about my kids' accomplishments or things that I feel like just heart's desires of mine, because it always became a competition for her. She always had to one-up me with something after I would say something about me or my heart or my family. And so that just became a place, you know, in relationships, it's just not so fun. Like, I would love to be celebrated for who I am, not feel like I have to compete to become what your version of a great life is. So laying those things down, there's just not a place in relationship for that. Biting and cutting remarks. So the best example I have for this, which I don't endorse if you haven't watched it, but a lot of people have, if you've ever seen those housewives of whatever, like New York or Orange County, or they have all kinds of them. If you watch that and see that that's the perfect example of what not to have in a relationship, it is so messy, it's so ugly, it's so self-serving. And if you want healthy relationships, that is not a place that you want to go. Cutting people down or saying one thing in front of their face and then something else behind their back, competing to be friends with the most popular person in the group, you know, all of these kinds of things just really bring a downer. And really, it creates relationships that lack trust constantly. That just sounds exhausting to me. Doesn't that sound exhausting to you? Ugh, I don't want that. So yes, the backbiting, cutting remarks, again, it becomes competition. Who can zing who better? Who can put who in a place better than the other person did? Those kinds of things are just, they're not made for relationships. They're not. They tear relationships down. They don't build them up. Okay, so the last thing is a few things for healthy relationships. Make it be safe to be yourself. make it be safe for the other person to be themselves. In other words, give them space to be unique, to be different. You know, if I give the example of me and my best friend, we are so different, yet our hearts are for each other in a way we feel actually a lot alike at the same time. So she's so creative. This home that I record in is her home. She is so gifted at making a space absolutely beautiful and homey and welcoming. And that is not my gift. That is not what I do well. It would not make sense for her to come to my house and nitpick all the little things. She just loves me. She loves who I am. She knows when she's in my home, it's a reflection of my gifts that move into a completely different direction than what her gifts are. And we leave space for each other in that. That's what I regularly hear from her, what she admires about me. And I hope she hears from me what I admire about her. And that's what makes a good friendship, because we're not competing. We're not trying to be like each other. We're trying to celebrate each other and enjoy each other's company. Okay, respecting one another. Again, if you go back to the point about biting and cutting remarks, how about rather respecting the other person and finding those places just where you can let them know how valuable they are. That's what respect is. Open communication. Again, I'll just keep on this vein of using my bestie in me. You know, we communicate about things. If our feelings are hurt, we communicate about them. The amount of times that relationships fall apart because we will not communicate and talk about those things that have wounded or hurt us. And the good thing is, you know, when we talk to one another as best friends, we know that our heart is really for the other person. So when you have to have a harder conversation and say, hey, when you did that, that stung, like that hurt. I know that I'm moving into a safe place where my friend will say, oh my gosh, that's not what I wanted. I love you. So there's a way to like move on, or even to just discover more. So open communication, and then compromise. Look at the relationships around you and how you don't need to compete for your ways to always be the way, but you can compromise and say, hey, last time I chose this, why don't you choose this time? Or those types of things that will move you into, my eyes just paused because in my head popped that I fight with my friend all the time about who's paying for what. And that's a place where, again, in compromise, we just learn how can we bless each other and not push each other too far, because she's always trying to out bless me, just giving all the time. And so we teasingly kind of argue about that in a way of who's willing to receive the blessing. So, and then equality is another one. That's the last one I'm going to leave you with on just healthy relationships and making that safe place, is that equality is so important that you see each other, spouses see each other, your relationship with your kids, they need to be seen as an equal. They know that you're the one paying the bills. They know that it's your house rules because you're the parents. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that they are equally valuable. They are equally considered. You find those places of equality where you both feel highly valued in the relationship. And when that happens, oh my gosh, there's so much space to run free in that relationship, because you're not walking on eggshells that you're going to upset or overturn the apple cart of somebody's feelings and how they are showing up. So I hope this is helpful. Competition in relationships, for the most part, is not healthy. It's not good. In the parts of playing games and fun-loving, you know, things that you do, of course, those places add layers and flavor and fun to your relationship. So make sure that that competition piece is in the right place. Okay, bless you, friends. Have an awesome day.